Welcome into First and Goal, presented by the Clutch Gene. My name is Kyle Lee, and his name is Connor Hogan. He's got 4 questions to answer, 4 downs. Let's get right into things. We're going to start with 2 games here. We're going to start with the Chiefs-Chargers, and then we'll get to the Bengals-Steelers. So the Chiefs-Chargers, Chiefs lost to the Chargers. I think it was 30-24 or something like that. Let me double check. 30-24. Patrick Mahomes, 2 interceptions. Chiefs also had 2 other fumbles from, I think, like Tyreek Hill and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And Chargers walk away with a victory. Chiefs are now 1-2. So, Connor, give me your thoughts on that.
This is a gigantic win for the Chargers. The Chargers look really, really good on both sides of the ball right now. 2, the Chiefs they're not this like, I don't think people should keep holding them as this like crazy high pedestal team anymore. Obviously, yes, they are probably still the best team in the AFC, but teams this year specifically, I mean, the Browns got very close. The Ravens end up winning a game. The Chargers win this game. They look very one-dimensional. They look very beatable. If you play the same defense that the Browns, the Ravens, and the Chargers all played, which is soft, deep safeties over the top, you don't let Tyreek beat you, you let Travis Kelce do whatever he wants within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, there's a good chance that a lot of teams that people don't think can beat the Chiefs will either, 1, play very tight games with the Chiefs, and 2, possibly beat the Chiefs. And that's because I get it, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has had a few 100-yard rushing games. He also fumbles a lot. And that's not helping the Chiefs at all. Yeah, you can run for 100 yards every day, but if you're fumbling and losing those fumbles on a regular basis, looking at, Zeke from a couple of years ago, you're not going to get those wins in the games, right? And so right now we're looking at a Chiefs team that looks very beatable in the AFC and even in the AFC West, right? They play the Chargers again. They play the Broncos. They play the Raiders, who figured them out last season. So awesome win for the Chargers. They look great. Bigger issue, the Chiefs don't look unbeatable anymore. They look pretty normal.
Yeah, so I feel like you should add at the end of Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbles a lot lately, because he actually only has 2 fumbles in his whole career, both of which have come from these past 2 games. But it's an issue if you can't hang on to the football, right? I walked away from this game not really thinking anything more of the. I thought more of the Chargers, but I didn't think too much less of the Chiefs. Like you said, the 2 deep safety seems to work. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 100 yards, but obviously had the fumble early in the game. I think they fumbled. Yeah, they had 3 straight turnovers to start the game. I think it went interception, fumble, interception, or something like that. Patrick Mahomes, 27-44 for 260 yards. That's less than 10 yards per throw. That's not the Patrick Mahomes that we know. Also super inefficient, 27-44. Incompletions, interceptions. Not a great look from the Chiefs. The thing is, I don't really think the Chiefs need to panic. They shot themselves in the foot a couple times. You're not going to get many 4 turnover games from the Chiefs just in general. 1-2 looks really bad, but they've been in every game. I think every game they've been in is a 1-score game, win or loss, 1-score game. And it's 3 tough opponents to start the season. Say what you want about the Chargers, but like you said, they look really good this year. I think they're 2-1 right now, because they lost to the Cowboys, but they beat the other 2 teams, Chiefs, and then I forget who they beat week 1. I think that this is more of a, yes, the 2 deep safeties work, and yes, that the Chiefs need to fix their strategy, because clearly teams have figured it out. Tampa figured it out in the Super Bowl, and it seems like teams have figured it out since then. Figured it out comes with kind of an asterisk next to it, because the Chiefs still, put up 24 this game. I think they put up 31 against the Browns, put up 30 against the Ravens. So clearly they can still score points, but you basically just have to make Patrick Mahomes inefficient. And if you allow him to be efficient is where they struggle. But look, not going to have many 2 interception games from Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to have many 4 turnover games from the Chiefs in general. You're not going to have many games where Justin Herbert, someone on the other side of the field is as good as Justin Herbert is, because that Chargers offense is really, really, really good. They've got a lot of great players. Keenan Allen, great receiver. Mike Williams, when he's healthy, is a great receiver. Kind of has the Will Fuller thing going on where you have him for like 4 games. Austin Eckler is a great pass-catching running back, and he can run the football efficiently too, which is not something you see a true dual-threat back very often. Very rarely are they like that. Chargers offense is really good, and Justin Herbert pulling the strings makes it just that much better. If anything, my biggest takeaway from the game was Herbert's continued growth. He's starting to take that step from like upcoming talent that we saw last year to truly one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I know it's a small sample size, but look what the kid's doing. 26 of 38, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He outplayed Mahomes yesterday. And it's not even debatable to say that. And he took advantage of the Chiefs' turnovers, which I know they're turnovers, and you think, oh, well, if you turn over the ball 4 times, of course you're going to lose the game. They still have to take advantage of those turnovers. They still have to score points. And they did every single time. And that's a lot because of Justin Herbert being able to just manage his way down the field. He showed 2 things in that game on Sunday. He showed that he can efficiently move down the field, and he showed that he has the arm talent to take the deep shot. He's really good. I can't say it enough. He's really good, and I really like Justin Herbert. He's probably... Mahomes was great when he first started in the league, right? He won MVP his first full season as a starter. For a quarterback that came out of college and went straight to the NFL and played in his first season, Herbert's probably as good as it gets. Like, if we compared him, if we compared his start to his NFL career to those of some of the best quarterback, like most highly talented quarterbacks, Andrew Luck, John Elway, some of those, he'd probably be pretty comparable because he's that good. And he really impressed me. But yeah, I don't think the Chiefs have much to worry about. And I think the Chargers, all signs point up for them right now. And we say that knowing that they're the Chargers and they'll find a way because they always do. Maybe this is a new iteration of the Chargers with Justin Herbert. But what was it, 2014? Chargers had the best ranked offense and defense and still missed the playoffs. Like, how does that happen? Only the Chargers could do that. So they might find a way. But I think that the Chargers are on the up and up, and the Chiefs really, things are going to get easier ahead, I would think. Let me look at their schedule going forward. But do you have anything else?
No, like you said, super impressed with Justin Herbert. I think, like you said, he's only going up from here. Some serious Josh Allen vibes coming out of Justin Herbert with possibly a little more, but better, right? He is, right? Josh Allen's that big, huge, stocky kind of athletic guy. Justin Herbert's that guy who just looks like he knows what he's doing. Like, there's no panic. There's no, oh, I have to leave this pocket. But there's also not that poor decision making either that comes with that. Oh, if I stay in the pocket, maybe I can make something work. He just looks so poised in there that you just feel like he is in complete control of what's happening with that offense.
Yeah, all the time. That's one of the things I took away from it, is that he is always in control all the time, and he looks like he always knows what he's doing, and that matters as a quarterback. Your teammates look at that and say, this guy's got confidence. This guy can guide us to victory, and I think that his teammates fully back him, because it was weird because you watched the game and he made the simplest throws, but they were great at the same time, because it's just, you'd watch him do it and you'd be like, that was executed so well. He scanned the field, found his looked at option 1, 2, 3, found a check down to Austin Eckler. Simple stuff like that. It's like a young quarterback is usually option 1, check down, or just go right to the check down or force it to option 1. The way he processes his information is really, really good. Chiefs going forward have Philadelphia next, who just got destroyed by the Cowboys. And I think we all agree the Chiefs are a better team than the Cowboys. Buffalo, which will be tough. Washington, who's looked shaky to start the season. Their defense doesn't look nearly as good. and Tennessee upcoming. And then they go to face a New York team. I don't know which one. I just know that either way it's a win. So, yeah, it doesn't really matter which New York team it is. So Chiefs probably will start going on the up coming soon here. I don't think anyone should panic and think the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs because they started 1-2. That's another thing, is that it's been the same iteration of the Chiefs offense for 3-4 years now. And sometimes when it's like that, you just kind of get bored with it and you start to, drop games that you shouldn't, make mistakes like they made yesterday. It's just, the fatigue of running it back the same way every year. And they've been to 3 straight AFC championship games. So, but I don't think they have too much to worry about. Let's go to the Bengals Steelers. Big Ben looked ancient in this game. Steelers lose 24-10. Offense looked inept. Connor, what do you got to say?
I didn't get to watch this game. I watched the highlights of this game, which was more than enough. Big Ben goes 38 for 58 for 318 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Big Ben should not be throwing the ball almost 60 times a game this late in his career. And I know Tom Brady is still doing it. We still see that, level of throws from Tom, 40s, even low 50s. Big Ben and Tom Brady are not the same person, nor have they ever been. Big Ben he looks beat up. He looks like he should have retired. He looks like a guy, the Brett Favre situation where he came back he's been around for too long and it's not working out anymore. And that entire Pittsburgh offense just looks not together. And that's not even with Big Ben, right? We know the Steelers have a ton of issues in their locker room with Juju and Chase Claypool and all these other guys. They have, problems between their offensive and defensive players. That Pittsburgh team, Mike Tomlin, incredible coach. I think the bigger issues with that team, not just Big Ben, is that team as a whole just isn't getting along, and it showed. Right? We've seen it. We saw it last season with the collapse, right? The worst undefeated team we've ever seen in football. Yeah. I'll agree on that. Other side, Joe Burrow, back, looks healthy, looks great, not worried about that knee at all. He goes 14 for 18 for 172, 3 touchdowns and a pick. I like the Bengals. I think they get a great thing going up there in Cincinnati, and I hope it continues. But yeah, the Steelers are just not the Steelers that we grew up watching, competing in the AFC North and then for AFC championship games and a Super Bowl. It's just not there anymore. And I think they're headed towards something that a lot of people have been worried about for a while in Pittsburgh, and that is just a complete fall apart because they don't have anyone behind Big Ben up there to kind of step in. And sorry, Mason Rudolph, but you're not the guy.
Yeah. Big Ben was 38 of 58. 14 of those were to Najee Harris on dump offs. So that shows you what the Pittsburgh offense goes through. Pittsburgh has a problem, and Big Ben has a problem because Big Ben doesn't just look old. He looks like he's 100. He runs like he has 2 torn hamstrings the whole time. You watch the game and you're like, is this guy moving through quicksand? Because it takes him 8.5 minutes to get out of the pocket. It's insane. And I know Big Ben was never the fastest player in the world. He was no Lamar Jackson in his prime, but he could move a little bit, for his size. I don't know if Ben Roethlisberger can throw over 10 yards anymore. I think it's the Drew Brees effect. I don't know if he can throw over 10 yards accurately and consistently. Because that whole offense, I just told you, 14 catches for Najee Harris on dump-offs. Chase Claypool had 9 catches for 96 yards, and he had one 29-yard catch. So outside of that, he was less than 10 yards a catch. Juju Smith-Schuster, 3 catches, 25 yards. Pretty much everybody was either 10 yards or shorter for their catch average. It's it's sad, but I think it's predictable that this would happen. We kind of saw it last year where they were undefeated, but like you said, the worst undefeated team ever. And he just looked old. He looked old then. And we were like, I don't know about this. Are we sure that he's all right? And then they got Najee Harris, and they were supposed to have a running game, and we think, oh well, the Steelers will be better. They'll be able to run the ball. Not everything's on Ben Roethlisberger. Well, here we are. Najee Harris got 14 carries. Ben Roethlisberger threw 60 times.
And he had less than 50 yards rushing, didn't he?
Yeah, he had 40. But I think Najee Harris is a good back. I think that's just the nature of they know that they're not going deep. They're not throwing 40-yard bombs, 50-yard bombs. It's just not going to happen. All their catches are going to be short, under 10 yards, so the linebackers can push up and they don't have to respect the deep ball. They don't have to. Big Ben's not going to throw it over their head. Instead, he's going to roll out of the pocket and throw it directly to the linebacker like he did this past game. Pittsburgh has a real issue, and I think it hurts Mike Tomlin's legacy that they've ridden out Big Ben this far. Because, like you said, Mike Tomlin is a great coach, and the Steelers have a history of they don't fire coaches, and they never make the wrong decision with coaches. And I think right now people are questioning Mike Tomlin because, like you said, the team doesn't seem to be cohesive when it's really just nobody questions locker room problems when the team is doing well, right? Anything could come out of a locker room, but if they're 4-0 or if they're 3-0 at this point, no one cares. Because and they're playing well, no one cares. I think that the Steelers have a lot of personalities in the room, and the biggest one being Ben Roethlisberger and just being who he is. And I think when they're winning, it doesn't matter, but when they're losing like they are now and not looking good at all, that's when it becomes a real problem. And I think that if Ben Roethlisberger doesn't retire after this year, he can't come back as the starter. I know you have to do the whole respect thing, and he's been there and he's played through injuries, the hundreds of injuries that Ben Roethlisberger claims to have had, won 2 Super Bowls. But at some point, you got to just say, we've played our last down with you here. We just can't move forward like this anymore. And it's sad, but it's going to happen.
Type quarterback too, right? Like, everyone's moving away. And Ben Roethlisberger in his career has never looked athletic or healthy, right? You've never looked at Ben Roethlisberger and been like, oh yeah, that guy, he's, like the Ravens did it with Joe Flacco, right? They move on for Joe Flacco, not an overly athletic quarterback, gets wins, gets the Super Bowl, gets all the stuff. Lamar comes along, he gets pushed out. And we've seen this over the span of probably the last 5 years of people, moving on from these big, huge, towers in the pocket, right? Big Ben, that's kind of been his staple throughout his entire career. He stands there, he takes the hits, and he moves on. But like you said, we shouldn't be questioning Mike Tomlin at all. It's a thing where it's like, okay, we are at this point now where we can't keep doing this. We need to move on. We need to, figure something out. But they don't have anything planned right now. Like there's nothing there to be like, all right, this is Big Ben, sorry, man, but this isn't, working out for us anymore. They have nothing to move on to at quarterback. It's just not there, right?
Right. If it keeps going the way it's going, though, they'll have a chance to draft a quarterback pretty early. And I know we don't believe in Spencer Rattler here as a podcast, but apparently he's a highly touted prospect. So next week we'll have to cover some college football. Looking forward on that because we definitely there's opinions that we've formed. On the flip side of it, kind of looking at the younger side of things, on the Bengals, they look really promising. I know they're not there yet. Bengals aren't ready to compete. But their offense looks really, really promising. And you know who Joe Burrow reminds me a lot of? Another young quarterback. He reminds me of Baker. And I feel like they're in very similar situations where Cleveland has a ton of offensive power, right? Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins is a 2 anywhere else, and he's a 3 on the Browns. they have a lot of talent, and basically Baker's only job is just guide the offense in the right direction, right? Joe Burrow has a very similar job on the Bengals. They have Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins didn't play this game, but he's another talented receiver. Jamar Chase. I'm trying to think of the others. Joe Mixon. Talented offense. And his job, just like Baker's, is just guide the team in the right direction. I feel like they're very similar in that sense that they do it pretty well. They're not asked to do anything special, right? Baker's very rarely asked to be incredible. Joe Burrow's very rarely asked to be incredible. They act as like the bumpers in a bowling alley. Just kind of keep it in the lane, right? Don't let anything go too far. We'll win the game, or we'll at least be competing. Let these playmakers make plays. The difference between a game manager like, say, and what Alex Smith was late in his career, and the potential for what Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield can be, is that even though you're supposed to guide the offense in the lane and not do anything super incredible, there's going to be like once or twice in a game, or maybe just a couple times a season, where you're asked to do something great. We saw it with the Browns in week 1 against the Chiefs, when the Chiefs scored late and Baker had to move it downfield. And say what you want, I like Baker. I don't think the interception was completely his fault, but he threw a pick. Didn't succeed in that sense. And I think that Baker's better than that. I believe in Baker, but being a game manager is not an issue. Tom Brady, you can argue, has been a game manager for the majority of his career. What greatness is defined by is when you're asked to do those incredible things in the game, you do them, right? So you're asked to make the big throw, you make the big throw. A 3rd and long, you convert the 3rd and long. And Baker's very good at it, and we're seeing Joe Burrow get progressively better at that too. And I think that's 2 quarterbacks to look out for, that their offense is really talented, but it runs through them, right? If you have Jameis Winston in the Browns offense, they might score a couple more points, but they're going to turn over the ball a whole lot more too. And I think that's the difference between like Freddie Kitchens' offense when Baker was there, when Freddie Kitchens was there, and Kevin Stefanski's. Kevin Stefanski recognizes that Baker is a game manager. He's going to keep you in the lane. Freddie Kitchens wanted him to be Patrick Mahomes, and that just wasn't going to happen. But moving back to Joe Burrow, I really like what I've seen from Joe Burrow. He reminds me a lot of Baker in that sense. I think that he can succeed really well in that role, because I think he kind of did a plus version of that in college, when they had that incredible run, where obviously you wouldn't have defined Joe Burrow as a game manager back then, but he did like a accelerated version of that, where it's just give it to the playmakers, let them make plays. And I really like how he's looked. And I also like how Jamar Chase has looked. He looks like he put those drops behind him. So, yeah. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
No, I think you nailed it with the Baker stuff. And the other thing is, like, you look at a major present day, game manager. Kirk Cousins is, the guy everyone thinks of when you think game manager. The difference with those two is they are wildly more talented than most like the Ryan Tannehills, the Kirk Cousins, those kind of guys who are your typical game managers. Both Burrow and Baker have the talent to be more than that. And when they need to call on to that, they can. But to keep those offenses in lane, just humming along, scoring when they need to score, and then when they need to make the big plays, they have the talents to do it. Like, you can look at Kirk Cousins sometimes and be like, all right, we're down by 3 towards the end of the 4th quarter, and we have to drive 80 yards. Like, you're worried that you're going to be able to do that. If you have Baker and Burrow, you're kind of like, okay, we can't, like, there's no reason why we shouldn't win this game, right? Like, you're just looking at it, you're like, they have the talent to make the throws, make the plays, to win you any of those games. And that's kind of where you're at, where it's a game manager, but it's more than that when it needs to be. And you don't need to call on it all the time, but you have it in your back pocket when you need it.
Right. And on the Kirk Cousins thing, just real quick, the biggest issue that I think people have with Kirk is that when those big moments come along and you need him to do something, you need him to be special, he's not special. He is a game manager in the most truest definition of the word. He manages the game. He's not going to do anything incredible, even if you ask him to. And you're just kind of stuck in a cycle with that, where it's, the games that you should win, you win, but the games that you aren't favored, you lose. And that's why Kirk went 8-8 every single year in Washington, and that's why the Vikings are frustrated with him now. Okay, so moving on, 2nd and goal. We got some surprise contenders in the NFL, across the NFL, namely the Broncos, Raiders, and Panthers, who I believe are all undefeated at this point in the season. So, Connor, are those teams for real? And I guess the second question, how would you rank those teams in their ability to keep this run going?
Let's start at the bottom. The Broncos are not going to keep this thing going. They've played arguably the 3 worst teams in the NFL to start their season. And I think Teddy's great. I've always been a fan of Teddy Bridgewater, but that offense when it comes down to actually playing defenses and teams with defenses, I don't think they get there. I think they've just gotten a really lucky start with how easy their first 3 games have been. But once they start playing the Chargers, the Raiders, who we'll talk about, next, and then of course the Chiefs, right? They're not going to keep this streak alive. I mean, if they win any of those games, I'd be surprised. I think they're going to go, they'll probably drop every conference game. Maybe they get a lucky win against the Raiders, who are probably second on this list. But they can't keep that going just because they played 3 worst teams in professional football to start their season, and they're 3-0. They are the better of those games they've played. They should be 3-0 in those games. They're not going to go anywhere. Next, I like the Raiders. They did a great job. They have a solid that offense through Derek Carr looks really, really good. It does. I know Brandon Jacobs has been in and out with injury. Hunter Renfrow looks amazing.
Josh Jacobs.
My bad.
Throwing it back to 2011 Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh God. So you have Josh Jacobs. You have Hunter Renfrow, who looks incredible. Henry Ruggs is finally coming on. He looks like a big spark in that offense that they need. Obviously, you can't talk about the Raiders without talking about Darren Waller. Just an absolute monster. And the defense looks pretty solid too. It's not an incredible defense. It's not something where it's like that defense is going to win us a bunch of games, but they're solid. They know what they're doing. They play the game plan the way they need to play it. They're not going to stay undefeated, but they have a good shot of doing well in the AFC West. I don't think they come in first or second. I don't think they're going to beat out the Chargers or the Chiefs, but they look like a solid team. And then coming to the Rams look really, really Panthers.
Yeah, Rams are next topic.
Next topic. The Panthers without Christian McCaffrey is going to be tough. Sam Darnold looks amazing. He has the definition of a rebirth in Carolina. I think Jets fans are looking at Sam Darnold in Carolina and being like, why did we talk all this shit about this guy when he was with the Jets? They're kicking themselves in the ass because Sam Darnold is the quarterback they wanted it playing for the Jets. But you play for the Jets, you're automatically just knocked down so many more levels than you should be.
Yeah.
He's in a great offense with great receivers, great talent. An offensive line, which is what kills the Jets every year more than anything else because quarterbacks there get sacked so much. They don't keep going either. I think they have great game plans. I think they have a great offense. That defense is playing really well. But it's the Panthers. I believe in them. I think they're going to do well, but I don't think they make this massive push that people are looking for. So it's going to be very interesting to see. If Christian McCaffrey was still on, I'd say they'd be in way more games than they're supposed to be because they do look very, very good. Without Christian McCaffrey, it's going to be a whole nother ball game because he does add such another level to that offense.
So I think basically your rankings are Raiders 1, Panthers 2, Broncos 3. Panthers potential to be 1 if Christian McCaffrey's healthy. Yeah, I agree with that ranking. Here's a fun fact. Guess who the backup for the Panthers is? Chuba Hubbard, Oklahoma State legend. So,
Canadian.
What's that?
A Canadian.
Is he Canadian?
Yeah.
Wow, there we go. They score 1 for Canada. Yeah, so, I mean, for me, starting from the bottom, Broncos, their combined opponent record is 0-9. They've played both New York teams and the Jaguars. None of those teams can really figure it out. I think they're somewhat for real. Like, I think that their defense is really good, and I think their offense doesn't turn over the ball. Teddy Bridgewater is efficient. I too like Teddy Bridgewater. By all accounts, he's a really great guy. But I think they're probably in that like 9-8 range by the end of the season. I don't think they'll have a losing record, but they're probably 9-8, 10-7, miss the playoffs sort of range. Because, like you said, they're not better than the Raiders, who I'll get to. They're not better than the Chiefs, and they're not even better than the Chargers. So at that point, they're the fourth team in their own division. They are making steps towards being really good, right? Their defense is good. Von Miller's aging, but that's okay. You got Bradley Chubb on the other side. You can find someone to, replace Von Miller. Not directly replace Von Miller, but definitely be part of that defensive line. I'm concerned with how their offense will do against a team with a good defense, but also a team with a good offense, because I think the defense will hold up enough. But if they play, say, the Chiefs, who score points no matter what you do to them, are they going to be able to put up 27 points against the Chiefs? Because they're going to have to win that game by scoring points no matter how good their defense is, because the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I don't think the offense can score enough points in the end. They scored 26 against the Jets, but the Jets are the Jets. Let's see here. Just pulling up their games. I think they scored 21 against the Giants, but I could be wrong, so I'm double checking that. Let's see here. Really bad podcasting here to not have this already up. So they scored 27 against the Giants, 23 against the Jaguars, 26 against the Jets. Again, 3 of the worst teams in the league. So congratulations, you averaged 24 points against 3 of the worst teams in the NFL. Here's a fun fact for you, though. The Broncos are 6-0 in their last 6 games, including preseason. They went undefeated in the preseason. My second best team is the Panthers out of those 3. They're for real. Their defense looks like a really, really good unit, one of the best units in the league. And Darnold kind of makes me nervous just because I know what he was with the Jets. But he's looked vastly improved, reinvigorated after he left the Jets, and he's played well. They have real weapons on offense. DJ Moore, I've been talking about for years, is really good. Christian McCaffrey is really good. Obviously, him not being healthy is an issue. Robbie Anderson is really I have some issues with Robbie Anderson, but it's undeniable that he's definitely a weapon on the team. Christian McCaffrey's availability is going to affect the offense, like you said, which is why they're number 2 for me. They should be a playoff contender if McCaffrey's healthy. They should be in that range of like wild card, one of those 3 wild cards. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're the first wild card, because they're a really good team and they're really well coached. And I like Matt Rule. I think he's a really good coach. The Raiders, they're the most frail team in my opinion. I have to eat my words because I said that Derek Carr was not good, and Derek Carr has only played exceptionally well this whole season. So I have to eat my words a little bit. He looks fantastic. This offense is efficient. He's doing that game manager plus role where he's making incredible throws constantly, but he's also managing the offense and keeping it in line. Henry Ruggs looks like an NFL wide receiver, which is a big step forward from last year where he was injured and everybody was like, why would you draft Henry Ruggs over CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson? He looks like a legitimate threat now. Darren Waller, I mean, you said it. He solidified himself as the top 3 tight end in the league. Josh Jacobs, Kenny and Drake ground and pound. This offense is perfectly set up for John Gruden's system. John Gruden loves the West Coast system, and this offense has everything you would want in a West Coast system: an efficient quarterback, a very good tight end, 2 running backs to just kill you on the ground, a speed receiver to take the top off the defense, and then you got Hunter Renfrow, who I didn't even mention, great possession receiver to just get those third downs. This offense is perfectly set up for what he wants to do. And I think it's coming at just the right time, because I think we were starting to really question John Gruden if he was a good coach. And now he's got everything he needs in that offense. So let's see where it takes him. And they should make the playoffs, and they should probably win a game or two in the playoffs, definitely. Depending on who they face, are we betting against them being good enough to be in the AFC Championship game? The way they've looked lately, I wouldn't. The defense concerns me.
If they get Josh back, I would say they have a shot.
Yeah.
Like you said, that offense has every single piece you could possibly want on paper, watching their games, to do everything you could possibly want them to do. Whether it's, okay, Henry, today you're just a decoy. You're running 100-yard sprints all game, and we're going to blast it up the middle with two very, very physical running backs. Or, hey, Darren, you're running ins and outs all day long. Hunter, you're running slants all day, and you have every single aspect you could possibly want. If that team stays healthy and Derek Carr continues to play at the level he's playing at, they have a shot. Do I think they beat the Chiefs to get there? Who knows? We could see something. We know the Raiders have that defense figured out to play the Chiefs. We've seen them win games against the Chiefs. So if that goes the way it could, yeah, that could be a solid pick for the Raiders to make a deep push this year. But we'll have to see what happens when they do play the Chiefs. They play they play those other big time offenses in their division. So
Right.
where I'm worried about scoring points, it's more, does that defense hold up against some of these pass heavy offenses they're going to play?
And that's my concern with it, is can they hold up? And Raiders have always had questions with their defense, especially the past couple of years. But for the first time in what seems like a while, their offense is just humming on all cylinders. They look really good, and it could be fool's gold because we've seen the Raiders look pretty good to start the season before, and they taper off. But Derek Carr he has a legitimate case, right? If the season ended today, where does Derek Carr rank in MVP rankings? First, second?
I'd put him up there. I'd give him.
It's got to be close. So, this Raiders team looks really, really good. Okay. Let's
The temptation when you get the vibration won't do you no good. It won't do you no good. You better start rolling when you hear the man calling.